Ilona, the land of the golden sun, a vast and ancient continent, scorched by desert winds and shaped by centuries of war, pride, and perseverance. Once ruled by primeval kings, visionaries who forged empires from sun-baked stone and ambition, Ilona has always been a land where power is earned in battle and honor is carved with steel. From the golden dunes of the Crystal Desert to the verdant reaches of Istan and Kurna, Ilona pulses with history, with struggle, with legacy. At its heart stands the Order of the Sunspears, an ancient brotherhood sworn to protect the realm from darkness. Warriors, rangers, spellcasters, unified under one banner, trained to be the shield between the people and whatever evil rises to threaten them. But even legends must evolve. In the ashes of war, facing corrupted gods, undead legions, and a land torn by tyranny, a new path emerged from the ranks of the Sunspears, the Spellbreaker. A warrior refined by battle, hardened by resistance, and trained not just to fight, but to end magic itself. Spellbreakers are a living answer to a world drowning in divine chaos. They wield no spells of their own. Instead, they unravel them. With every strike, they disrupt, silence, and sever the flow of arcane power. They are calm amid storm, blade against flame, discipline forged in the crucible of Ilona's endless conflicts. Where others channel magic, the Spellbreaker stands alone, mastering the art of unmaking it. Born of Ilona, shaped by its strife, and sworn to protect its future, no matter the cost. Greetings gamers, Kintaro here, and I've got a special treat for you today. I am going to make a build video on the class and the spec that I play the most of, in PvP of course. So here we have my Spellbreaker. This is my main character that I play the most frequently, and this is the builds that I typically play the most of. I'm just going to go through some of the basics for this build. The first thing is your most important main ability is full counter. It is basically an F2 ability, and what it does is it recharges your burst skills. So it recharges your F1, your arcing slice, and in this case breaching strike. It blocks all enemy attacks. It is unblockable. It removes boons and removes conditions. It grants you stability, it grants you swiftness, and it CCs enemies, so it dazes them. You can use it defensively when you're being pressured, and thanks to no escape, it will not just daze but also immobilize your targets, because sometimes daze doesn't go off, or the daze gets consumed by a stability stack. There's a couple ways that you can use full counter to make sure that it goes off. Walking into enemy attacks or AoEs will proc it. In a situation where there's more than one enemy, this is pretty easy to do. But skilled players, once they see or hear full counter being cast, because it has a pretty obvious tell, they will stow their weapon and stop attacking you, right? Because they don't want to proc this, because this is a very strong, very powerful skill that does a lot of different things all in one. It's really, really stacked. And the important thing to remember too about this is it counts as a burst skill, right? So any of your traits that proc based on burst will also proc on this, right? So gain might and weapon swap. Burst skills gain reduced recharge, so that affects this. Full counter is one of the best defensive and offensive skills in this build, and the CC that it does is actually unblockable. The CC is not just for one target, it's an AoE. Both your burst skills and full counter cost adrenaline, so they cost the same bar here. They're both using the same resources, so you have to pick which one you want to cast. If you're low on adrenaline and you need to cast it, you can weapon swap, and this will give you enough adrenaline to cast full counter. So if you want to pressure somebody, or if you really need the defensive benefit of full counter, a weapon swap is a quick way to get there, because you know, in PvP, you're really never going to have enough time to auto attack to get adrenaline back. Some general settings, I mean, these are good for all PvP, is basically going into your options here. and going into targeting and disabling auto target. And so auto targeting we have off. I would never turn this on for any reason, but the big reason you don't want this in PvP is that when you use a skill like Bull's Charge, even if I have nothing targeted, it will still try to attack the closest target automatically. So you'll never be able to use it defensively if you're being pressured. So it's really, really bad if you're trying to PvP. So let's just go through the traits. So for Spellbreaker, for this trait line, right, obviously this is our non-selectable. That's how we get our full counter. For defense, Discipline, Spellbreaker, I would really only ever go between these two. This is definitely the preferred one. So no escape, dazes and stuns, inflict immobilize. So how will we proc this? Disrupting stab. This is going to be a really easy one to set up. So if you hit them with this and they get immobilized, then you can weapon swap and hit them with an arcing slice. That's a nice little combo that you can use. Daze, stun, pull, knockdown, knockbacks, all remove boons. So like I was saying before, your full counter is a CC, so it's going to proc this. It's going to remove boons. Anytime you do this, it's going to remove boons. All of your stuns and everything else you have here are also going to remove boons. Loss aversion, you really don't ever pick anything except this. Removing boons from a foe deals damage and gives you adrenaline. Mostly for the adrenaline gain. The damage, 63 damage is pretty ignorable. And you're going to be removing boons a lot because you're going to be full countering a lot and you're going to be CCing a lot. So Attacker's Insight, this is a crazy strong passive buff that you get anytime you use a burst skill. So gain insight when disabling foes or removing boons. Full counter refreshes all burst skills on hit. So any CC will proc this. And like I was saying before, you're going to be CCing a lot. So all your dazes and your immobilizes are going to be proccing this. I believe this procs it as well. So you're going to be able to keep this up pretty easily. And it has a 15-second duration, which is a very long time. And it's just a buff that can't be removed. Mage Bane Tether. So you're never going to really use anything except this with when you're running defense. It's just so strong and it's going to be going off all the time. It reveals enemies so they can't stealth. It gives you might. It has a pretty good range. It's a nice powerful CC when it goes off. So if you hit full counter, you CC them again and then they try and walk away from you or you walk away from them intentionally and it'll pull them back and stun them again. Grants you a 10% damage. Okay, on to Discipline. So Discipline, gain adrenaline on weapon swap. We already went over that. Warrior Sprint, so you run faster. Movement skills, break, immobilize. So you have a lot of movement skills here. Your Dagger F1 and your Dagger 2 ability both remove immobilize. Your Shield Bash removes it. Bull's Charge. Almost all 2, 3, and 5 all remove immobilize when you're in rampage mode. And then of course Whirlwind Attack and Rush also remove it. So you're going to be moving around a lot. You're not going to be getting immobilized very much when you're playing a Spellbreaker. Fast Hands, weapon swap, recharges faster. I mean, this is such a necessary skill when you're playing Warrior. Don't really need to go into that one. Brawler's Recovery. You could switch this to Destruction of the Empowered if you wanted a little bit more damage, but I just prefer playing with less condies. It just helps so much, especially when you're trying to remove stuff like Blind or Chilled. Versatile Power, gain might on weapon swap. Burst skills gain reduced recharge, so more full counters, which also means more F1s. Really, really strong. Burst Mastery, burst skills deal more damage. Grant swiftness and restore a portion of adrenaline. So just very good synergy and sustain. And lastly, defense. So gain protection, we use a healing skill. So every 20 seconds, you're going to be getting 3 seconds of protection, which is really strong. Pull of the Weak has been nerfed quite a bit, but it's still strong. When you're playing with Greatsword, Dagger, Shield, I don't really think that this is the best option, so I just stick with this. Adrenal Health. Gain health based on adrenaline spent. Really nice little self-heal that gives you a lot of sustain during fights. Resistance when you dodge. Such a necessary and great skill. You only ever give this up when you're running like Hammer and Mace. Just very, very strong ability. And like I was saying before, one of the best things that you get out of this is that when you dodge roll, it makes blind on you not effective. So if you're fighting somebody that's can throw out blinds easily, you're still able to pressure and attack them. Hardened armor, gain resolution when you block or are struck by a critical hit. 33% damage reduction for 5 seconds is pretty huge. Strike damage taken is reduced by 10%. So really, really tanky when you get crit or when you block. Cleansing Ire. Gain adrenaline when hit. Remove a condition when you hit with a burst skill. Remember, this also counts as a burst skill, so you're removing conditions when you cast either of these. And then remove an additional condition for every bar of adrenaline. So every time you hit this, you're going 1, 2, 3 condies removed, or 1, 2, 3 condies removed. So very, very strong synergy here. Really helps in dealing with condition-based classes. Okay, now let's go over weapons for this. I'm playing mostly with Greatsword. So here we have your auto attacks, which you're really not going to be using that much. You're just gonna your other skills are going to be off cooldown enough, and you're going to be able to weapon swap enough that you're probably not going to use this too much. It's good to cleave down targets. That's kind of like the main benefit of it. 100 Blades, the skill that has not changed really in 12 years. It still has its place. You can bull's charge into an enemy and hit them with this. Because we're not running strength, we don't have aggressive onslaught. Without quickness, you're not really going to be able to get off the full cast of this. But if you get quickness from one of your teammates and you do this combo, you can get a full cast off, and it still deals quite a lot of damage. The big downside is obviously you're rooted in place when you cast this, and if you need to end the cast, you can either just move, or the more popular way to do it, right, is to just weapon stow. Whirlwind Attack. So this is an offensive ability and a defensive ability, much like many other things in the warrior kit for Spellbreaker. So it deals a decent amount of damage. A couple tips when you're using Whirlwind Attack. I like to try and use it when an enemy is, or when I'm facing a wall and an enemy is against a wall. So if the enemy was in front of me here and I hit Whirlwind Attack, all those hits are going to hit the enemy, rather than if I were to use it on an open area and it would just pass right through them and hit them maybe only once or twice. And it also grants an evade. So good for escaping, and it has, 10 seconds is a really short cooldown, and it removes immobilize. So great ability, fun to use. Like, you just basically want to be using this almost off of cooldown essentially, because it's just it allows you to move around the battlefield. And Blade Trail. So this ability is a bit jank, but you can bait out dodges with this. Sometimes I like to use it at range, and use that kind of like as an opener. And if it goes off, then you can charge in with Rush. Sometimes people will get baited by this and dodge it because they think it's like a bull's charge. But other times it's just it has a huge range and you cover a lot of distance. Not as fast as bull's charge, but it's still pretty quick. And they did fix the pathing because it was worse before. It's okay now, and it's not great. It does deal a decent chunk of damage. So if you pop this off when an enemy is actually really close to you, you could do a little bit of burst and line this up with something else as well. So don't underestimate these skills. I mean, but in PvP, they're actually quite strong, and they're 15 and 20 seconds for a 4 and 5 skill is a pretty low cooldown. So don't sleep on these. They can really come in handy sometimes. Now, your other weapon sets. Dagger Shield, the classic combination. This is a nice fast auto attack. So if your weapon is if your weapon swap is on cooldown, sometimes you can weave in a few auto attacks. It procs Might. It has increased damage on crits, and you can gain a decent amount of adrenaline if you have to, if you're stuck in a situation where you need to gain some and your only option is auto attacking. Or a Slicer. Nice little gap closer that deals a nice chunk of damage and also provides some CC through slow. Disrupting Stab. So this ability is a strong interrupt that synergizes well with No Escape, because it will also immobilize them. So you can line up this and then go into either Breaching Strike or Aura Slicer or an arcing slice. And it comes out, it's an instant ability, so very difficult to dodge, and 12 seconds is a relatively low cooldown. Next, we got Shield Bash. This has a pretty decent range and a nice long stun. I like to use it to basically extend CC combos and just line up other damage. I mean, it's a stun with a 450 range, so there's not really too much else to it. Shield Stance, so this is kind of like your big defensive cooldown. You get 3 seconds of block, and you can move around at full speed with it. So kind of a long cooldown, but it will definitely save your life. There's nothing fancy about this one. It just blocks, and that's it. No other function. It's just a block. Breaching Strike. Strike your target and remove boons. Deal more damage if your target has no boons. Nice burst ability. Removes immobilize from you. Removes boons from your enemy. Removes condies, and it's unblockable. This is one of your hardest hitting abilities in your kit. Make sure it doesn't miss and that you're going after targets that are either stunned, dazed, or immobilized to make sure that goes off, because there's so much, it's such a loaded skill here that you don't want to make it, you don't want this to miss. And I think I forgot Arcing Slice. I mean, how could I forget this skill? Deals damage in a circular attack to foes around you, and you gain Fury. Fury is kind of the big benefit of why Greatsword is still relevant today. 8 seconds of Fury is huge. It deals more damage to targets that are under 50% health, so it also functions as an execute. It removes condies, and it grants swiftness. Your Arcing Slice is one of your hardest hitting abilities, and you'll see in some of the examples like just how crazy this can get if you have like full stacks of might. But again, you really want to make sure that your target is CC'd before you before this goes off, because you don't want to waste your adrenaline, and you want to make sure that you get that Fury buff too. Next, we'll go into the utility skills. So Mending is really your only option. Like, Defiant Stance got nerfed too many times, and it has a long cooldown. To the Limit is not really that great either if you're not playing Strength, and there's really no reason to use this. It's mainly the Condi removal that makes it so good, and because it has such a short duration and you get the protection from Mending, it's just the best healing skill for Spellbreaker. Bull's Charge, I would never play Warrior without Bull's Charge. It's just so good. It has a nice long evade, nice huge 900 range, and it's a very powerful CC. Typically, you want to use this offensively when you're close to the target, because if you use it when you're too far away, it's kind of easy to dodge, right? It's a really obvious animation. You don't want to waste it, because 24 seconds is kind of a long cooldown, but you can use it defensively, right? Because of the evade and because it creates so much distance, it's a very strong ability to get out of bad situations when you need to kite. Shake It Off, again, another pretty much mandatory skill for most Warrior PvP builds. 24-second cooldown, breaks stuns, and removes 4 conditions. It will also break stuns for nearby allies and remove conditions for them. Typically, you're not going to be team fighting with this, but if you are stuck in like a 2v2 or whatever, it's a nice team fight skill too. But typically, you just want to use it for yourself. You don't have to save this for using it on your teammates. And this is kind of a flex spot. I've been running Doliak Signet for quite a while. It's a shorter cooldown than some of the other options. It's your other stun break. It gives you a nice little heal, and it just reduces all damage done by 10%. This is the stronger defensive cooldown balance stance, because the stability and swiftness are pulsing. So even if the stability gets removed, it will come back every 1 second. Whereas the stability from Doliak Signet, you get 4 seconds and that's it. It can be stripped and then it's not going to come back. So yeah, at 50 seconds, I mean, again, this also got nerfed a while back, and it's just not as good anymore. But the immunity to crits and the pulsing boons does make it the stronger cooldown when it's active. There's some other like kind of niche ones that you can use. Some people like to take Endure Pain because it basically makes you immune to damage, and it has a little bit shorter cooldown than Balance Stance. Some even more niche would be like Banner of Tactics or Banner of Defense. This one is also a stun break and grants super speed and resistance. You don't see this one being used too much, but again, it is still a viable option. And that's really it. The other options are pretty niche, and I wouldn't really recommend them. And the only other ability left is good old-fashioned Rampage. So this is your big like burst skill, your big burst cooldown. The only skills that deal damage are auto attack and dash, right? So your dash looks a lot like Bull's Charge. And when that's going, you know, your basic combo is just to throw boulder and hit them with a dash and then auto attack them. But I've been testing out playing with Signet of Rage instead, and I'll get into why when I start looking over the gear. Okay, so here is my gear setup. The main amulet that you'll be using is Berserker Amulet. You can go Demolishers if you want a little bit more survivability, but I think in the current meta where there's a lot of tanky builds I've been running into, I think this is actually a little bit better. And then I usually just stick with Fighter Rune just for a little bit extra toughness. For weapons, I rarely change what I have here. It's just intelligence. You get guaranteed crits when you swap to this weapon. And energy, so you get more dodges. And then on the and then for dagger shields, I stick with absorption. So steal a boon when interrupting an enemy. This is an interrupt and this is an interrupt, and they're both on. You're going to be using these a lot, so you will be proccing this pretty frequently. And then for defense, I just put cleansing. You're going to be cleansing a lot of boons anyway because of cleansing ire and brawler's recovery. But it never hurts to have this. I mean, there are more offensive options that you could take instead. Some people like to go with battle for extra might stacks. I'll talk about the relics first, and then I'll tell you what the options are for other sigils. So right now I have Relic of the Zephyrite. The reason I have this is it synergizes nicely with Signet of Rage. I get a little bit more adrenaline, which is okay. It's not really huge. But the big benefit from this is more fury when you don't have arcing slice up, and 20 stacks of might, which is huge. And then on top of that, you get basically 7 seconds of protection and 7 seconds of resolution. So even more damage reduction. It's up every 30 seconds. I mean, you can only use it 40 seconds because that's the cooldown of this. The alternative, if you just want to stick with Rampage, is basically Isgarin. After evading an enemy's attack, place the eye on the ground and you get 10% strike damage. So every time full counter goes off, it will proc this. So it's basically going to be up all the time. Yeah, it's kind of you don't have to think about it. It just does the work itself, and it'll be up very frequently. Another alternative to this, I mean, Rivers got nerfed quite a bit, but is still viable. So you get Alacrity and Regen. I never run this, but it is an option. Brawlers is another option as well. So because you're going to be granting yourself protection and resolution from the defensive skill line, this will be up, has pretty good uptime as well. And Daredevil. So Daredevil, after dodge rolling, you have a guaranteed crit on your next attack. If you run this, I would replace this with maybe Battle or something else. But yeah, I usually stick with either Isgarin if I'm running Rampage, or like I've been doing more recently, go with Zephyrite and take Signet of Rage. I'm going to go over some simple commentary for a couple of fights from matches that I've done recently. These are all up to date with the most recent patch, so everything should still be relevant for today. So here we have, it's the very start of the match. One of my teammates already went for our home, so I decided to go far. And it looks like there is a Deadeye at far node. And I decided to go straight for him here. I miss my shield charge. So he comes back out of stealth. He's trying to do his burst on me. I use my heal. Right now, my dagger skills are pretty much done. I've kind of chunked a little bit of his damage. I got a nice hit, the dagger F1 ability there, that chunked him down to 60% health. I got an interrupt off. I immediately swapped to Greatsword and hit him with an arcing slice, which crit. And now I'm going to 100 blades, and that's enough to down him. So I just used my full counter just to interrupt him again so he can't use his down skills. And now I'm going to go for the execute. Of course, he's a thief, so he teleports to the other spot there. But hit him with another arcing slice and just auto attack him down. And that allows me to cap the node. Okay, so I decided to stay here. It looks like the Deadeye respawned pretty quick, so I'm going to fight him again. I try to fight him away from the node. and then I see he's going towards it, so I decide to go back. I assumed that he was going to go back towards the node, because it looked like right there, before he turned invisible, he was, so I start walking back. But he chose to stay up there in the ramp, so I guess he thought that that was maybe safer for him. So now he's going with his burst, and I can see this Reaper is coming up here too, so I'm in a bad situation here. 2 very high DPS, and so I use my Bull Charge to CC the Deadeye, and now this Reaper is really hitting me hard, but I break the line of sight to get my heal off and go around the corner here so that neither of them can hit me. So I'm kind of hoping that the Reaper will leave, because it's a 2v1 right now and they're both just sitting at home, not really doing much. I mean, the Deadeye right now is capping, which is fine for them. So I see that the Reaper's not here immediately, so I'm thinking that this Deadeye is going to be a 1v1, but the Reaper was just waiting. It looks like he closed the gap with his sword movement skill. So now I'm in, again, bad situation again. I don't want to be fighting these 2 guys at the same time. They're going to just put way too much damage for me to deal with. So I Bulls Charge the Reaper, whirlwind attack out, and then pop Rampage to kite all the way back to mid. So I see my teammates have got pretty good control of the situation here, so I just decide to 1v1 this Herald, even though I don't have all my cooldowns up. But the Reaper is still chasing me, so he's right behind me. I pop my heal, and now my teammates have come in to help me, so I create distance again between myself and that Reaper. So the Reaper managed to down my teammate. I go in, hoping to CC him and stop to execute, but I'm not able to get it off. I do get a full counter off, so I pull the Reaper towards me, he gets CC'd, and then I start going into him with my CC and burst chain. So I'll go over that again, what happened there. So I hit him with Breaching Strike, my Dagger F1, go into a Shield Bash, and immediately weapon swap and go into Arcing Slice. And I get him with a nice big Arcing Slice crit of 6k, and then I whirlwind attack him and hit him with Rush, which hits him with 4k again. So he's just got downed, and he's already down to half health and down state, and that Elementalist that was beside me realized that I don't really need his help to kill him, and there we go. So it's always good to finish a Reaper because they're really annoying. Their downstate heal and their poison AoE. So I make my way back to enemy home, and it is the Herald again. So right now, the fight is going pretty well in my favor. I'm starting to land quite a bit of burst on him. He pops his elite, so I use my shield block so I don't take any damage from it, or the CC. So the fight's going well, but my teammates have decided to come and help me. So now it's the 1v1 has now turned into a 3v2, which it is in our favor, but I really don't want to be in a big team fight. And so, you know, I feel like my team has control of that situation, and I decide to leave. I just use this opportunity to get some self-healing. So the Elementalist here is trying to fight this Hollowsmith, and it looks like it's going his way, but I decide to +1 him just to get this guy down quickly. But he heals up, and he's doing a pretty good job of keeping both of us busy. But I go in with Rush, and I manage to kill him. While that was going on, you know, our teammate died here, so that wasn't really the best move on my part. I go in, Bulls Charge the Spellbreaker, and hit him with Arcing Slice and 100 Blades. So I managed to get the full cast of Arcing Blades off even without quickness. So I'm dueling this Spellbreaker. 2 Spellbreakers dueling in mid. You don't really see this too often. So I was kind of, you know, I saw my teammates. It was a 2v1 with them, so I just decided to continue fighting this guy. But the fight with my teammates, the team fight is really not going in their favor because that Reaper showed up. So it's probably not the best for me to continue fighting 1v1 against a Spellbreaker. I do manage to survive I got 3-on-1 here right now, which is never good. But the Reaper's teammates decide to abandon him and go for a 2v1 versus my teammate at mid there. So I use my range abilities. I hit this Reaper with Blade Trail and follow it with Rush, and that's enough to down him. So I hit him with Arcing Slice, 100 Blades. Hit him with full counter for some extra damage, and then get my heal off, and I decide to execute him because most of my abilities are on cooldown. So this fight, it starts off good. It's going to be as a 1v1, so I want to fight this scrapper. So I'm just kind of like trying to bait him out a little bit with some range attacks. I go in, use my whirlwind. Wasn't really necessary, but it is what it is. I dodge his grenades there, and I managed to get Bull's charge off and decide to hit him with the 100 blades. That gives me enough adrenaline to get off Arcing Slice, and I use a full counter and evade a bunch of his attacks. He eats the CC there, but he is tethered, so I decide to walk the other direction here and try and get him into a CC. The tether goes off and he's pulled towards me, but my teammate has decided to +1 me here, which wasn't really necessary. Just as I pop my Signature Rage here, so you can see I've got 25 stacks of might, I've got Fury up, and I switch to Dagger Shield. I stun him with my Shield Bash. I hit him with Breaching Strike, which hits him for almost 5k, and then I follow that up with my Dagger 2 attack, which hits him for 4600, which is enough to kill him. So not really a fair fight, but I just wanted to show how much damage you can put out when you have like full buffs rolling. Well, that pretty much wraps things up for this video. Hopefully you've enjoyed this content and found it entertaining, maybe even learned something. And if you want to leave some feedback, whether there's things you liked about it, things you didn't agree with, or just anything at all, really, just leave a comment. And don't forget to like and subscribe, because it is a free way to support the channel. Take it easy, gamers. To your booms, don't forget my stuns. Array we and hit everyone. I walk in, prop full counter, keep you free from buffs till the F1 crit comes. First window is open, attackers in sight is up.